You see? And so, when we see that the people here do the Occupy movement, they are being occupied, because the word occupy also is has two meanings. The takeover, and occupy is keeping busy. For example, she is ocupada taking care of this. When you are in the kitchen, you are ocupada making it's taking over you, and you are making the food, So everybody's occupied, So when we go and do the occupation in Wall Street or wherever, we are occupied with the occupation that the occupiers have made. So are we really doing what we need? How do we change what we need and have, so that we can have what is needed? But even how we place the question sometimes is a problem. So we say that the colonial situation is such, and do you know why the word colonial? Where does the word colonial come from? That's very important to know, yeah? And it's very simple. Columbus, in Spanish, his name is Colón. So when he came and he discovered, and he took possession, he colonized. Everything that happened after is colonized. Do as Columbus. Go and discover, and take possession, and do whatever. And it goes like that, and we are with our blinders, and we don't see, and we don't even know that we are indigenous. Everybody is indigenous to some place, And so racism, sexism, everything else comes from that mentality. And, when in 1992 it was 500 years of Columbus having gotten lost, and when we talk with people at the World Council of Churches, the program to combat racism, and they say, no, we are not going to do anything, about that time, because that's for the people of the Americas, all indigenous people. And I said, how do you think that the blacks ended up in far away from Africa? It was because Columbus got lost. And when Columbus got lost and he discovered and he took possession, Portugal said the same thing. Even little Netherlands went to, the Asia and took over big nations by force. Because by then they were using, a lot of fire. I mean, like powders and things that, to do war. They went to war for those things. The French, if we start talking about, for example, Kenya, who colonized Kenya? Tell me, you're college students. Who colonized Kenya? The British. And when was Kenya officially become independent? Middle of last century. Imagine that. But freedom is very important, and independence is very important. So learn to think about these things. This is what the doctrine of discovery is all about. That's why, you have to enter into this discussion, because we will never be who we are supposed to be as we are born in the universe, because we are not doing our homework. Our homework is about beingness. It's about being us. She's been doing that, even in the mess that there is in here, And the indigenous people continue to maintain and call us. But then we get very busy studying all these things and writing a bunch of things and, being somebody else. So the doctrine of discovery is really about what we are told. That's the paradigm. The G20 is about that. China is about that. When you see a caricature, you call it caricature, in the paper, and they put, are you better off or not? That's the question right now. And so there are the two parties, And then somebody says yes, but in the corner they put made in China. So you have to learn to read, learn to understand, because we need to work for peace. And you see, everything that we're talking about here is about sustainability, the ability to provide sustenance. Sustenance is that comes and nourishes you. And it's not going to come from out there, it comes from within. But with the colonial mentality, if we don't work with a colonial mentality and those chains that Silverio was talking about, that all of us have to work on, before we have the dream, we already know how the dream is going to be. It's going to be within the parameters and the paradigm of colonialism. Before we express the wish, we are going to wish it within that. So it's a matter of really getting to know ourselves, doing that homework, figuring out how, our skin is going to feel really when we really get in touch with the inner. And universities are supposed to be doing this. And it's a very spiritual thing. This work of knowingness is a spiritual thing. But if you are a student and you don't know about this, you flunked out already. You're going to have lots of problems and create lots of problems, And so I hope that my hope was, because I came from New York and I was someplace else, and I came from New York that I only went to sleep to New York last night. And then I came this morning here, and tomorrow I'm going someplace else. But I hope that, you are very key to this area because of the things that she presented, the things that you expressed, that you presented, but also because you are in the middle of this area, and the people here get less exposed to these kinds of things, and then continue to maintain that paradigm. That paradigm is not good. It's really opening at its seams. If there is no way that this world is going to be the same way that when you were born or a few years ago, no way. So you have to start creating the world as you see that it's needed. But you see, we just had the Rio Plus 20 in Brazil, and we were talking about the taking care of the planet. And they invent all kinds of things. The green economy, the blue economy, and they invent so that they don't deal with these things. And this is like washing your hands. We pretend that we are going to do it, but we don't. Because it needs all that understanding. But at that, the theme there was the future we want. That was the theme. And we were having a meeting of the Women Caucus, because we also work with the, all the work that they are doing, the governments, and trying to influence them and all that. And then I told them, look, the problem for us in the South is, who's the we? Who is the we? The future we want. It's not about the people that we're talking about, and the majority of the people in the world are suffering what she's suffering. And when even we say in third world conditions, who says that those are conditions that should exist? That shouldn't be the measure that, like you have to change in here so that you don't have people living in third world conditions. Those third world conditions are bad. Nobody should be living like that. And we have to think about that. So, and what is that future? What future are they talking about? So we as women started to question that. And then, it's not even the future we want, it's not that, it's not even the future needed, that we need, because who is the we again, and what is that we think that we need? More money, a lot of jobs, so I can get more in debt. And they are even having terminology like sustainable debt. What's that? And we go around repeating all that crap. And then I am saying, no, I'm working for the future that is needed. And this is something that we can learn from indigenous communities, because we talk about the bien vivir, the way of living well. And for us, the way of living well is community. The whole community has to be well, for us to be well, and for the kids to be well. We talk about, that we cannot be well if Mother Nature is not well, if the Mother Earth is not well. So, but you see, in the paradigm, we work on human rights, and they are good. But you know what? We cannot guarantee that if Mother Earth, if Mother Nature is not well. So it should be first the rights of Mother Earth, the rights of Mother Nature, and working with it so that human rights really can be a possibility. And instead, for example, the economic, social, and cultural rights of people, and from there, human rights. You see, this is the way that I think that it's very important that you all, I hope that you all work on this. And the time is short, but I was trying to make the comparisons for you. And there is much more to discuss. But I tell you, if you're going to, now, In postmodernism, we all know that we all know that we all know. So go and know it, you know. I was in this university where, you know, they gave me that prize. I was terrified because I said to them, I'm willing to go for that prize if we talk together about how to bring a movement of cultural peace in the US. That's what I wanted. No, that's not what we discussed, you know, it was something else. And people have big offices like this, and in that university, $50,000 the students have to pay for a year. And then they asked me, how do you like it here? That was awful for me, you know, because in a big conference they are asking me, and then close to the